Do you clip all pastures behind the herd in spring flush to keep it from over maturing?
So, like we talked about that a little bit, but something that also that you have to balance is that the spring flush, at least here in Missouri,
Yeah.
in most places, is also the wettest time of your year, which is why, or at least just before the spring flush is the wettest time of your year, which makes the pasture super soft. And so, driving a heavy equipment like a tractor to go brush hog out on a pasture when it's super soft is not a good idea because you're going to be leaving ruts. So that's a problem that we ran into last summer, is that we cranked with the forage, but then we weren't able to clip it until late in the summer because it was just so wet and moist in the first part of the year. Perfect grass growing conditions, but it was too soft. Like the ideal time period for us to brush hog, we couldn't do it because it was too soft. So we got a lot of seed heads and we sort of just grazed through it, and then Greg clipped maybe a little bit too late in certain areas, but he's just trying to. There's a bunch of motivations for clipping. It's not necessarily exclusively cattle nutrition and the seed heads. There's also you need to make sure your landowners are happy, and if you have a lot of people who live in town that own land, they really like it looking nice and pristine, and so there's some value in doing that.
Also for thorn tree maintenance or any kind of brush maintenance.
Yeah, brush hogging.
The brush hog is a lot more efficient.
Yeah.
Or a lot more.
Yeah,
convenient
convenient
to knock those trees down than doing it by hand. But yeah.
But the short answer is, yeah, we did when we could. It just, you don't want to be leaving ruts.
Yeah, and if you're,
and the brush hogging is always a gamble.
Yeah.
Like in any situation when you're going to use it, if you're going to clip a large section of your pasture, if you end up getting into a drought and you brush hogged it, you're going to wish you hadn't, because all of that material that was standing would still have feed value if it doesn't end up regrowing. So even if it's a really wet year, there's always some element of risk that if you don't get that regrowth, you might be shooting yourself in the foot, especially if you anticipate there being a dry time. Don't brush hog behind your animals. Let that residual still stand there, because there will be some feed value left in it on the next.
Another thing too you got to think about, and we're not telling you to get all focused on, I need to brush hog to maintain animal health, because it is a cost. It's an expense. It's like what I think Greg calculated out. It's like $3 an acre for him to brush hog. That's his cost per acre to do it. Or maybe it wasn't Greg. Maybe it was somebody
else was. I think maybe Greg Brand was talking about it.
It's like $3 an acre, whatever it comes out to be for your situation. That's still a cost, and so. If your margins are small or you're just starting out, that it's not going to be. Greg went without a tractor for 15 years. So it's not like something that's absolutely necessary, but there is instances where it can help. So.
Yeah, for sure. Just concentrate on moving them quick, and if you don't have a brush hog, try to move them as fast as you can. Maybe do a little skipping like we talked about.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised at what kind of regrowth happens in an area that looks completely woody and lignified. I was super shocked. The North place got super mature and away from us, and the places we didn't brush hog on there had some amazing regrowth. But
another thing too is we get 40 inches of rain here a year too. In other places, it just depends on your situation.
That's a common theme with this whole show. Is everything that we say has an asterisk being it depends on your situation.
Yeah.
The closer you are to what Greg's operation in here in central Missouri, the closer you are in climate to where we are, the more applicable all this advice is going to be. But the farther away you are, the more you're going to have to just take what we're saying is we do this, and think about how it applies to your situation, because there might be a way better way of doing something if you live in New Mexico or you live in Saskatchewan, so
Florida.
Or Florida, or the Mountain West, or
Mountain East.
Even
New York.
New upstate New York. Similar but different,